Hello, everybody. It's 10:09 p.m. Central Time on the 20th of August, 2026. It's Thursday night here in the USA, and I hope you are doing well. I do have an update for you. We are going to record this, and as immediately as I'm done here on Twitch Live, we're going to upload this over to YouTube, where I was live earlier when this earthquake occurred. You see on the screen here right now. A large earthquake struck down in South America in our warned area. Let me get a display capture turned on. We're going to go deep dive into this. There it is, 6.7, could be even possibly larger if you go check the station list, down at the border of Peru and Chile. And on the origin page, I'll just quickly show you the magnitude list, the one that's being provided to us. And we throw out the low ends and we throw out the high ends and the upper, mid sevens. And what are we left with? 6.7, 6.8, 6.9 is what we are left with on this. And the location of it, just so you know where we are along the plate boundary down here in South America. Do you see South America there on the screen? Hopefully you can see that. Down here, the USGS plate boundary map subduction zone. So I need to take everybody back just a little bit of time because we have to go back 5 days. And while I've got you on here, let's just quickly jump over to my YouTube channel, of all things. We're going to go over there and look back 5 days ago. There's my video from the 15th. And in my video from the 15th, we'll just pause it and bring it forward here. We're talking about watching the antipode of this 6.9 and 7.7 that you see on the screen here from the 15th. It's been struck. And I tell everybody to watch on the antipode on the opposite side of the planet from the 6.9 and 7.7, which we're going to do that right now. Actually, now that you've seen the video from the 15th here, you can go look it up and listen to me talk about this from 5 days ago. But what were we watching and why were we watching? Let me show you. Go back to the earthquake program. And we go across all the way over here where the two large earthquakes were. We can get those on the screen now. Let's do that. So let's go back 5 days. There's our 6.9. There's our 7.7. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to click on the 6.9 and get the information. You'll see we're at Western Indonesia, over there next to Sumatra, over next to Toba supervolcano. We're going to go back to the earthquake program. I'm going to scroll down here. This is an option for you guys on your version of the earthquake program as well. The antipode mode. You click on the earthquake and you click this. And it takes you through to the opposite side of the planet. And that brings us out on the coast of Ecuador. Prompting me and one other researcher on the whole in the whole planet, out of 8 billion people, as far as I know, there's 2 people that issued a warning for this. Myself, Stephen Burns. Big ups on Stephen Burns for doing that, putting himself out there like that, for issuing a warning. But this is something that's so basic. Studies have already proved this. It's not even up for debate. The professionals even have committed to this, that there's antipode earthquakes within 30 degrees on the off antipode. And this is like 15 degrees off from the antipode. So the antipode is here, prompting me to issue the warning for the area from Ecuador down to the coast of Chile and up to the coast of Venezuela, as far north. Same with Stephen Burns. He issued the same warning, independent of me. As a matter of fact, it was so ironic the way it happened. He issued his warning as I was issuing my warning almost simultaneously, maybe within 10 minutes of each other. And we didn't know. I don't know the guy. He doesn't know me. He wasn't listening to me. I wasn't listening to him. But we both saw that these earthquakes here, when you go back through the planet, bring you out over here. And the antipode thing is proved already with a study of 5,000 or more different 6.0 or greater earthquakes. So to see it happen again, well, this has already happened 3 other times, the back and forth. It's been 6 different large earthquakes back and forth in the past few weeks, going back maybe 2 months at the most. And that's huge. Right at the end of June, you remember, end of June, start of July, we had our earthquake season. We went back and forth through July. Now here we are, halfway through August, and we keep going. So the warnings that myself and Stephen Burns issued were based upon the antipode studies that have been released by the Oregon State University, and now there's been studies on the studies, in case you guys want to go look those up. But we're not here to quote professional studies. We were talking about this long before the professionals confirmed it in 2018. Starting in 2011, for me in particular, showing people the back and forth. And at the time, when I showed people back in 2011, we're not going to go on a rant on this or anything. But at the time, in 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, it happened so many times, the back and forth, and I made videos on all of these. I came under attack by professionals who said there was no relation between earthquakes across the distance. And just quickly, so you know this happened before this back and forth. An example is April of 2016. Kyushu earthquake here in South Japan, 7 plus, broke a good part of the island in half. There was a giant surface fissure fracture that formed. I want to say it was like April 15th or the 14th. Anyway, the next day, the 15th or the 16th, Ecuador got a 7.8. Now, when those two earthquakes happened back to back, people online in 2016 started to ask, is there a relation? I made a video saying there was. This top professor showed up in the media along with multiple mainstream media outlets denying a relation. The independent co.uk even did a story on it, disinformation outlet from the UK that's an official mainstream media outlet, but they put out all these articles saying there's no relation between the Japan earthquake and the Ecuador earthquake in 2016. And then I made my video saying there was a relation and that we're going to see another back and forth because these are two huge earthquakes. And their articles came out saying there was no relation. Guess what happened the next day? Another 7.0 struck over here at the Solomon Islands. I made another video. I go, guys, the mainstream media came out yesterday, look like fools now, saying there's no relation between earthquakes across the distance. The top professor, who was in the articles, came out and said it was just chance. But then guess what happened the next day? Over off the coast of Mexico and near 7.0, 6.5 to 6.9, struck. So it started with Japan, then it went over to Ecuador, then it went back to Solomon Islands, then it went back over to Mexico. That was 2016, and they said there was no relation. Now, they look like buffoons at that point because everybody in the world was like, what? Are you seeing Dutchens' videos? You know, the professor who was in those articles was publicly attacking me at the time from the Pacific Northwest Seismic Network. And I'm not going to go off on him at all, just to say he was a main pusher of this there's no relation thing. But then in 2018, the Oregon State University and a whole bunch of students did a huge study of 5,000 or more different 6.0 and greater earthquakes and found that in something like 3/4 of the time, when there's a 6.0 or greater on one side of the planet, within a few days, within a week or less, usually 3 days, there is a similar sized earthquake on the opposite side of the planet. This one took 4 days, 4.5. Now, so the people down here in South Peru, you had a 4 to 5 day warning from at least 2 researchers online, me and Stephen Burns, who are willing to take the heat to issue the warnings. I'd rather have, look, if the earthquake didn't hit for some reason, I mean, scientifically, when you're doing forecasting, there could be something that gets in the way that interferes with the flow across, back and forth. It could go somewhere else. It's possible, but it's like a wave tank. There's, other ways the wave could go, but you have to introduce some other kind of force to make it go that way. Otherwise, it's going to go back and forth the way you should. So, but to put yourself out there like that at a time where everybody's denying that there's a relation between it, even though the studies have now proved it. This is something where, again, you take a risk when you put this stuff out there. I'm not trying to get all preachy on you or anything, but I'm letting you know that people tried to stop this. So it makes you wonder, why didn't they issue a warning? The professionals. The big 7s hit here, and you can look through the planet and see the antipode is here, and the study says within 30 degrees, which would put us down as far as the coast of Chile, like central Chile, and as far north as Central America, like off the coast of Mexico. That's their studies say 30 degrees. I say it's much less usually on the antipode thing. It's usually more like 10 degrees to 15 degrees at the most off on the other side. So it's not the exact antipode that gets hit usually. It's usually within 10 degrees of that. So that's definitely the opposite side of the planet. Back and forth we go in a tennis match, denying it's, foolish. Not only foolish. If anybody got hurt in this earthquake because they didn't get a warning, and they didn't get the warning, even though it was put out 4 or 5 days ago by 2 different channels with big followings. Meanwhile, the professionals are denying their own studies. I don't get it. Like, are we supposed to listen to white papers? Or are we supposed to listen to Oregon State University? Or are we supposed to listen to Professor John so-and-so who said that it couldn't happen, and Professor Lucy so-and-so who says there's no relation between earthquakes? I mean, again, we're talking about egos taking precedent over actual science that's been done by teams of researchers at this point, and lives are at stake. So when Japan happened, or when Philippines happened, and the back and forth was happening, there should have been warnings issued for Colombia as well. I issued warnings. Burns issued warnings. The only two. The reason being, I think, is, well, everybody else in the professional world, I guess, we're not professionals, or at least I'm not. I'm more of an expert, I guess. You know the difference between an expert and a professional? Well, there's somebody who can go to school to learn about cars, right? Or trains or something. And then you have your expert on trains. Guess who the professionals consult when they can't figure something out? They consult the expert who's not a professional, who's not getting a paycheck to do it from an institution. Right? Like, would you rather take it to the dealer or would you rather take it to an expert mechanic? It depends on if the mechanic's a legit one or not, right? You know what I mean, though. So I'm going to use that analogy a few more times probably in the future, but let's get back to it. So 6.7 is struck here on the coast of South America. There is not much damage being reported out of the area. However, to verify that, we would have to maybe go over to social media and do a search for South Peru. I'm going to get the coordinates on this. We're going to go look it up. We're going to see if there's anything there nearby in Peru that makes sense. Otherwise, it's a plate boundary earthquake on the antipode as expected, with no interference. But if we zoom in and we find a weird facility or something there, that'll change the game. So let's go find out what's there. I have not looked up the earthquake, even though it happened way earlier today. What do we got going on out here? Some kind of farming, okay? Farming and ranching? You would expect that down there. Let's go ahead and back this out ever slightly. Oh, wait, hold on. We've got ourselves an actual volcano, a series of volcanoes. Look, there's one right here that doesn't have a mark on it, but this one does. Cerro Acuahuato. When was the last time this one erupted? This looks super old. Oh, of course, it's not going to open. Let's go look at the eruptive history. No known eruptions in the Holocene, in the modern era at all, for the last 12,000 years. Okay, so an ancient volcano that's never erupted in modern era. How many miles are we from it? I always look 40 miles to see if there's anything nearby volcanically, because it's usually, if we are next to a volcano like this, you can get shifting in the plate where the magma chamber will be actually far away from where it used to have a fracture in the underneath. Yeah, look, 40 miles, 36 miles away. I set the 40-mile limit back in 2012 to look within 40 miles because I just did a rough calculation of how far an area could move in thousands of years if the professionals are not lying to us about the way the plates move. So in about a few thousand years, you can get about, well, in many thousands of years, like hundreds of thousands of years, like this volcano here, for instance, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years, you could get 40 miles of movement from the magma chamber down below. While the surface might not look as much disturbed, down below, you can't, especially along a plate boundary like this. Like 40 miles of movement could happen in 10,000 years along here, as each slip happens and a few feet pass each year when a slip happens, right? Just by rough calculation. So that's why I look 40 miles. And so we're 36 miles away from these ancient volcanoes again. It's been so many times. I would keep watching the volcanoes down there just in case. I don't forecast volcanoes in any way. But with this kind of activity, I'm not shocked. An ancient break down in the plate as this wave is bouncing back and forth in the planet itself, going through the core and coming back out the other side, like that animation I showed you in my previous video. So what are we going to watch for? Now that we have this, I'm going to look for this to do two things. One, to go back over here, and we should have a new earthquake in between our deep earthquakes, which are raised high off the planet here. The deep earthquakes like bunny ears or pincushions. And over here on the right, or the east, is a 5.4, deep 5. Over here on the west is a deep 4.9. Now those deep earthquakes are happening, well, let me get this so you can see it, on our letter Ds. Our letter Ds are forecast areas where we watch for new deep earthquakes to take place. So we have a letter D here, and a letter D here. We only have a few on the planet. These are spots where we watch for the deep earthquakes to take place off the coast of Japan, Kamchatka, right over at the plate tip boundary of the Indo-Australian, at Afghanistan, and all the way over here where our letter D is at the Chile-Bolivia border. But here, two sets of deep earthquakes raised high off the planet like bunny ears or antennas. In between them is where we watch for our new large earthquake to strike. Not just anywhere in between them, the middle in between the two deep earthquakes. Now look what's in the middle. A 5.1 and a 4.9. Two of the same size earthquakes, basically. Now, over here on the west side, there are some volcanoes, such as Katovar volcano that suddenly blew a few years ago. There's a story on that. I'll tell you some other time. And the other volcanoes, Lengila and so forth, over here on the eastern side of Papua New Guinea, right there in the middle is where we're going to watch. Where both overlap perfectly in the middle. Now, do you understand standing waves at all? I've explained it in previous videos, but two waves, and then in the middle, in between the two waves, a new wave pops up. If you pump energy into a closed tank, you've got two waves going. You push more wave energy into the tank, compress the sides, or take a raft and jump up and down even, and you put more energy into the pool, and a new wave pops up in between the other two that are already formed. And it bounces up here, and then a new wave forms between the other two waves, and it bounces up here at the halfway point. That's a standing wave, like in a tank. But we're talking about a standing wave contained down below in the plate. Let me go back over to the USGS map here and show it to you again. Coming up from down below the West Pacific over here, we have two sets of deep earthquakes. One right at the bend in the plate of the Indo-Australian meeting up to the north, and over to the east, over at Fiji, Tonga area on the edge of the Indo-Australian here. Two different sets of deep earthquakes. In between them, right here in the middle, we already have two fives. We further zoom in, and that takes us into the spot where the new wave should come up. And the new wave, I think, over the next 7 days or less, should be greater than where we were already this week. And over here, we were already dealing with the 7.7 a couple days back. 7 and a 6.9. I think we're going to take the next step up this week. We're pumping more energy into the tank. We're already at 7s. The 7s are bouncing back and forth because it's not escaping out and going over towards Europe yet. So the energy is still contained here. It has nowhere to go. If it can't go west, it can't go east, it can't go north, and it can't go south because it's blocked, where's it going to go? Through. Back out the other side. And it does. And it hits over here. And then it bounces around, tries to escape out. If it can't escape out or it's too much energy trapped in, goes back through, back to the other side. That's what I think is going on here. It's a very low frequency, ultra low frequency actually, wave, thousands of miles between peaks. And that's why we're getting equidistantly spaced earthquakes, spaced out across vast distances in a short period of time. So we're going to watch here in the middle for something potentially greater than what hit this week already. We already had a big earthquake in Japan, broke apart Kyushu. We had a big earthquake in Philippines, broke apart South Philippines with near 8.0 level activity. We then had a 7.7 here and a 6.9 here, back to back, 2 days apart. That was just a few days ago. Stands to reason the area next to it should break. What area next to it? Let me show it to you one more time. This is the Indo-Australian plate. We just broke at Japan, Philippines, Indonesia twice. That means we're going to break here, and the second spot to watch is New Zealand. Let's go down and look at New Zealand. I've got the warning still going for New Zealand. We're high and dry with no significant earthquake activity at all in New Zealand, but for my New Zealand viewers, behold on the screen now, a miracle of modern technology thanks to Grok, building this into the program on my last version. We now have the GeoNet New Zealand. We can populate up the earthquakes there, and then you'll see it. We got a 4.9. And then a trail of earthquakes that goes down to the south. And see how these are raised high off the planet? Here, maybe I need to turn this over to the side slightly. Let's see if I can do this. This is upside down, of course, because we're looking down at the underside of the world there, right? But you see it? Do you see the angle on that? Do you see the different depths? So up to the north, we've got our... Isn't that cool? Yeah, this is a great feature of the new program. You can also go inside the earth and see it the inside. Do you know that? We're going to be using this later. We're going to be putting something inside of the earth for an animation. But all right, so deep earthquakes coming up like stair steps from down below. We go 5, 4, 3s, 2s, 1s up to the surface, and then smack in the middle of it, a deep 4. This is along the plate boundary next to Kaikoura, to the west of Kaikoura. So what it looks like is going on right now is we're building into something to happen between these sets of deep earthquakes, which puts North New Zealand right off the north coast of New Zealand in mix. But I warn down here, south of New Zealand, down off the south coast of New Zealand. Here, hold on. We'll get that back on screen proper. There we go. So I warned down here in South New Zealand, down south of the actual island, for a potential extremely large earthquake to strike. We're in like day 5 of a 7 to 10 day watch. Really 7 days because I don't like watching more than 7. So we're watching. We're on like the second to last day of the watch, and this one hits over here in the East Pacific. So we're going back over this way. I think we're going to be talking about a new large earthquake here at the Solomon Islands, Papua New Guinea. And I think we're going to be talking about large activity just south of New Zealand still. All the deep earthquakes are pointing right to it. You have to turn on the New Zealand feed to see it because the USGS is only showing us one up here. And again, let me turn off the New Zealand feed and watch them all go away. See that? Why is the USGS withholding the 4.9 there? Because it tells you something's going on. And look what they are choosing to report. A 5.0 down on our X. Now look at the undersea fracture zone. Do you see where it goes? It goes up, connects to the west, and goes right over to Kaikoura. So something is coming in already. It's going down to Point Nemo down here at the South Pacific in the middle of nowhere. Point Nemo is like the furthest point from land anywhere on the ocean. Like there's islands out here, but down here, this is the furthest point where there's no land anywhere for the furthest distance on the ocean on the planet. Like no islands or anything. They crash space debris down here on purpose, like satellites and so forth. They'll deorbit down there. Pretty wild, right? What else is going on? So now that you know what to look for, again, we're just going to watch on the West Pacific for our large earthquake activity right now, but we're not done yet. A 6.9 struck over here in Indonesia, followed by a 5.9 in China, and now a 5.2. So downstream, we should see activity pick up all the way over towards Europe. And I mean, it already is. It's a stepping stone path like garden steps, again, somewhat equidistantly spaced, going all the way out to Norway, out to the North Arctic Circle. But you got to remember, just a day ago, or if you missed it, well, there it is. 4.8 struck up here all the way at near the North Pole, very close to it. Let me get this recentered here. There we go. We're near the North Pole, and that struck first. So Norway, this gets into my viewers asking me, what's going on in Norway? Well, we could talk about Norway because of the ISCAT, E-I-S-C-A-T, if you want to go look it up. It's the European version of what we would call HARP. They have at least 5 facilities planned, and I think 3 of them have been built, and they interact with each other. They shoot high-frequency radio waves, FM to be specific, frequency-modulated, high-frequency, well, ultra-high frequency, UHF, and they use it to do polar heating experiments. They heat the North Pole to create plasma in the atmosphere. 50, 100 kilometers wide area of glow in the upper ionosphere, up above the atmosphere. And as they complain about global warming over there, they're doing polar heating experiments. I'm not joking. Go look it up. And they're more powerful than HARP. And there's 5 of them. They're intended to cross their beams up in the sky. Now, when you cross the beams, this is like Ghostbusters. You get a scalar that'll form. Go look up Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden and Scalar if you want to find out about the crossed beams and what happens there. If you're listening and you really want to go look it up, you're going to be mind blown if you haven't ever heard of it. So a 4.8 up at the North Pole, a 4.4 off the coast of Norway, 4.9 down here, rare on the coast of Spain. All 3 sets of earthquakes, this one and this one for sure, 4.8 and 4.9. They're 2 of the same sized earthquakes. The energy is spreading to the North Pole and it's spreading out across South Spain. But why? Let's go look. Look what's there. The plate boundary. So South Spain, right there, subduction zone, goes right out here to the T intersection out at the Mid-Atlantic Ridge. Now, what's up at the North Pole, though? Notice the USGS doesn't have anything there, do they? But if you go back and look at the earthquake map, we sure have something right here. We have a series of arrows. And that's where the earthquake struck over the last week, going around the outside edge of Europe. You don't see the one to the north, but look at the stepping stone path of earthquakes. Like I told you, equidistantly spaced. These are all from the USGS over the last week. Again, like a garden stepping stone path that goes right up to North Italy and back down to Spain. The one that's missing is the 4.9 that struck right at the end of last week right out here at Romania. And that 4.9 makes sense because 4.8 and 4.9 down here. So, in other words, a 4.9 went around the outside edge of Europe, a 4.9 went around the outside edge of South Europe and Africa, and a 4.8 to 4.9 shows up at the trail end out here. In between, we get filled in with 4s all the way along the way, all the same size. Trace it all the way back to where it came from, where our deep earthquakes are. This is the last 7 days. You see how many different deep earthquakes are there over at Fiji? We were hammering away with energy on the underside of the plate, which then led us to our large earthquake activity. So over in Europe, what are we going to look for? I would look for the next magnitude up. I think we're going to be talking about 5s in Europe this week, and we have to find our halfway points between our current earthquakes to determine where to look next. Italy, smack in the middle. And if you go up and around the bend of the plate, hopefully you guys can see all this. If you go up and around the bend of the plate and back down this way, what would you say the halfway point is between this 4.3 and this 4.9? If you do that, if you go up, back down, and around, wouldn't you say that would put us exactly at here to here? So on one side, you've got, what is that, Algeria? Oh, man, I need to learn my countries. What? Libya. Well, no, it's okay. It's Algeria, Tunisia, Libya. It technically is Libya. I'm talking about this area right here. So we watch from South Italy right back at Campi Flegrei, all the way across to the other side, basically the same distance. See how Naples is about that far? What is that? 100 to 250 miles north, and we watch 250 miles south, with the center being Sicily itself. But come on, we already had our earthquakes off the coast of Campi Flegrei. I think we're going to take the next magnitude step up. I think it's going to be 5s. So if you're in Italy, get ready. You already got a 4.9 to your east. You got a 4.3 to your, or you got a 4.3 to your east. You got a 4.9 to your west, and you're sandwiched in between it along this plate boundary. A letter J shape right there. So we have the Ionian Sea west of Greece going north, and I would watch on the inside portion of the J shape here. This is the Tyrrhenian Sea, and the reason, the volcano there. It's already been hit multiple times. It's a weak point in the plate. There's uplift happening at Campi Flegrei itself that caused surface fissure fracturing and evacuations. I'm not saying it's going to erupt. I'm saying keep an eye out for the seismic to go up there. Let's do a forecast for the United States, talk about the U.S., Central America, and South America, too, on what to look for. Now, I think this coming week, we're going to take a step up in Alaska. What happened to Alaska? Everybody else broke. The United States is waiting, too, but come on. Central America broke off the coast of Mexico, here at Guatemala. South America broke like 3 times. Colombia, Venezuela, and now Peru. Over in the West Pacific, it's just a slam dunk. We've had so much, like I said, Philippines, Indonesia, Japan all breaking. This is all recent in the past few weeks. So then it would lead you to ask, okay, New Zealand, and let's go north of New Zealand. Look where we go. Due north of New Zealand. The 2 spots that haven't broke yet. So I would think this coming week, on top of what we're already looking for down in New Zealand from this past week and what I've already done with this forecast for this antipode thing that's going on, that we're probably going to be talking about Alaska showing back up right in the middle of the Aleutian Island chain. Let me take you over to the plate boundary map and explain why I would have warned here, of all places. Hasn't been hit in a long time, obviously, with anything huge, but let's just go over it again. South Japan broke. South Philippines broke. Indonesia broke here first with a 7.7, then over here with a 6.9. I'm looking for a huge earthquake to strike here at Solomon Islands, and I'm looking for a large earthquake to strike south of New Zealand. That's pretty much at least half of the Indo-Australian plate plus the adjacent plate to the north to Japan. So all this is already broken. Then we go across. Same thing. We broke at Venezuela right here in between these 2 red lines, the 2 plate boundaries. We broke here on Colombia, and now we broke down here, down in South Peru. So, who else is left to break? New Zealand at the very south side, and Alaska at the very north. And of course, the United States has been having an increase in activity, but we have not had any huge activity. Wouldn't you say Alaska and the United States are tied to the same plate? So there's only really one spot in the North Pacific that should break next. That would be up in the north with a big earthquake. Just because the other sides have all broken all the way around, we're waiting for 2 spots. And they happen to be parallel to each other across an uneven mass of a huge plate. I think that's Not chance either. That the middle of the plate is like the last to break, while both sides break much easier. Then after Alaska, then we talk about the U.S. So what size should it be for up in Alaska? Well, let's see. We're already flirting with 6.7 and 6.9, bouncing back and forth. Now we go up and across, we lose a little energy. Most likely it's going to be in the mid-range 6 level, so it shouldn't be, I would think, a magnitude less than what's on all sides. Down south of New Zealand, I think it could be 7.0, just like what's going on over here already. But to the north, it should dissipate just a little, half magnitude to a magnitude less, 6.5. Middle of the Aleutians, next 7 days. Coast of the United States. Let's get all the smaller earthquakes on here, and let me actually turn down my hexagon transparency slightly. Oh, wait, I did the wrong slider there. Let's turn down the earthquakes and get all the small ones on there. And we can also change the hexagon size somewhere in here. I've got too many controls. I'm still learning my heads-up display. I've only been using this a couple weeks. So in the Pacific Northwest, we're looking at 2.5 days worth of earthquakes. Even the untrained eye should be able to see there's a line of earthquakes or a ring of them going around Seattle, starting up at the border with some quarry blast, going down through what are called explosions for some reason. They could be explosions, people doing mining and all that. But once we get down here, look where we are. 17 kilometers southwest of Nile, Washington. Have you ever seen a location listed from Nile, Washington? N-I-L-E? Let's go look it up. All the way to the north. Let me get a sip of my coffee. It's 10 o'clock at night. I'm drinking coffee. There's our earthquake epicenter. Now look where we really are. We're east of Mount Rainier, right next to Hydroelectric Power Generation Station, Tumac Mountain, and Spiral Butte Volcano. But we are literally right next to the power lines. Now this gets into humans generating power. Power being very low frequency being in the power lines and at the stations, and earthquakes being precipitated next to them. Mineral, Virginia on the East Coast, biggest earthquake in the last 20 years for the whole East Coast, 5.9 to 6, struck in 2011, next to the Lake Anna nuclear power plant. We get earthquakes next to the hydroelectric plants. Doesn't matter what kind of power plant it is. Geothermal, solar, wind, even along the power lines going from them, we tend to see earthquakes break out. So I'm not shocked. Now, no pun intended, right? The power line's not shocked. But when we start talking about the earthquakes going across there, why? Well, I think Mother Nature is generating a low frequency in the plate that's electric in nature. Humans are doing it at the surface. Where the two electromagnetic fields collide, somewhere in the plate, there's a scalar which forms, an area. The scalar is an area between the two waves, where they combine and cross, like Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden says. And they build in power, like a standing wave. And you can break. So it's like pumping too much energy into a swimming pool, above ground swimming pool, and the sides give way. Right? Too many people splashing in it, make a big standing wave, sides give way. But if it happens in the plate breaks. That's what I think's going on. Now look at the line of earthquakes going down the edge of the craton, down right into Yellowstone and beyond, right down to southeast Idaho, where we're lit up there. But we go right through the park, we're in a diagonal line of earthquakes again. So we got one line of earthquakes going down the coast, and a diagonal line of earthquakes going down through, at least, down into Wyoming. Now I'm going to take it back several days. Watch this. Do you see how it makes like an S shape and then goes out and connects into Colorado there? That's the definitive inside edge of the craton where the energy is then escaping out over into Colorado, right here, and then jumping down through New Mexico, going through Texas, and back up the East Coast to the New Madrid seismic zone. And we've progressed over to the New Madrid so far. Nothing on the East Coast. Now, I think we're building on the West Coast. So I'll go ahead and issue a warning now. Looking at this, and we see a big line of earthquakes, and the number of earthquakes is going up in the Northwest. I think off the coast of the Pacific Northwest, we're going to be talking about a significant earthquake in the next week. So I've got a 7-day forecast going now. That's going to expire in a few days. in a few days, I'm going to have to get back on and do a forecast for this. But I just want to tell you right now, it's shaping up to be that we're probably this coming week, if nothing changes, we're going to be talking about a 6 or greater, most likely much greater, like a magnitude higher probably. So first Alaska though. So first things first, we watch Alaska, then I keep an eye on here. I already see that we have a frequency increase, the number of earthquakes going up. The line of earthquakes going down and over into Colorado, down to Texas, over to the New Madrid, but nothing on the East Coast means the wave's trapped in here. Normally the wave goes around and up the East Coast and escapes out. If it reflects back into itself, it's just like a wave reflecting back into itself in a pool. If you do another wave, that's going to pump more energy into it. And that's what's going on. Now, why do we jump out over to Colorado to the edge of the craton? Why don't we just go down to New Mexico in a diagonal line? Well, there are things here along the way that are interfering with the flow of this seismic wave. For instance, what's in Colorado? What's in New Mexico? What's down in Texas, all the way across into Oklahoma? All the earthquakes that I just mentioned there. From Utah, right here, east, south, and east, all of these are drill points for oil and gas. Every single earthquake takes us in next to a drill point. There are a few volcanoes, but majorly drilled all the way across here. I'll prove it to you. I'll just grab an earthquake from each location. We'll go look it up and just kind of scan around the area to show you if you're a new viewer. I've showed these 1,000 times. The Utah pumping operation is massive, but a picture speaks 1,000 words. So come along with me on a voyage of discovery where we're going to learn new things, such as how many drill points are there and why earthquakes are striking there. Did you know that professionals denied that there was a relation between drill points and earthquakes? 2011, when I came along, they denied it. Now look, there's the earthquake. And look at this. What are these? We're going to start seeing a lot of these. These are roundish, oval-shaped pads that my imagery won't load on for some reason. There should be no reason for a connection issue, guys. We're on fiber optic tonight. So if this is cut, it's cut from Google. There we go, right? Yeah, cut on fiber optic. Yeah, cut them off, right? Anyway, these are oil and gas pumping operations. I'm on a fiber connection right now, and Google has just dropped and cut. Let's go ahead and shut it down and bring it back and open it back up. They just shut down Google. I'm not kidding. You think I'm kidding? I'm not. Somebody sits there and does that. They run cover for their oil companies. They're big sponsors of the Google operation. They're big investors in that. So here we go. I'm not dogging the oil companies. I'm just showing you our earthquake epicenter is right here, and the nearest drill point is right here. We're just going to block. Oh, look at that. Just going to block it, are we? We're really going to do this? Okay, all right. Well, okay, this is proof of a conspiracy. I mean, come on. So hiding oil pumping operations has been a thing for a while. Let's go up to the north and see if it blocks it. Well, look at this. Oh, isn't that wonderful? Google just shuts it all down. All of a sudden, the whole thing crashes again. There we go. Are we allowed to show the pumping operations? We should be allowed. It makes them look bad to not show it. I've showed these 1,000 times. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. Why hide it? All right, well, we're just going to move on. Those are all pumping operations, and the reason I'm showing them to you is because they act like VLF antennas down in the ground that accept a vibration coming in. And in this case, it's a very low-frequency electrical wave, but it does the same thing as vibrating. Let's go down into New Mexico. Maybe that's just a problem with the images, right? Like it's just a server problem of the images in Colorado, right? Right. Because again, I'm on fiber optic. There we go. Down to New Mexico we go. I'll tell you what. Okay, so, what's this? Looks like a large airport is nearby. Aerial Survey Airport. I mentioned the volcanoes here, did I not? Now, the oil pumping operations are far enough away I wouldn't think they're directly related when we're right next to a volcano like Mesa Redonda. New Mexico, all of this is drilled from here south down to the border with Texas. So starting up here, going down to here. And I'm not joking when I tell you it's all drilled. So let me just show you. They look like towns at this level. But when you really understand what we're looking at little squares that won't load because Google's blocking them. Guys, I've showed this for 10 years, 15 years in my updates. To get it blocked now is a little late, don't you think? It's not my internet connection. No, look, I've got all here. Let's hit refresh. Yeah, no, I'm not going to do a speed test. No, I'm able to open up anything. No, it's not my internet connection. Here, let's go to my live stream over on Twitch. Yeah, no, it's not my internet connection. No, they're blocking it. They're shutting it down. I can't believe it. That's just wild that they just did that. Okay, so somebody's listening to Google, and they're shutting it down. Most likely they're getting paid to shut it down. I would think they're not just doing it on their own, It's not like who loves the oil companies, So Texas, you're just going to have to take my word for it since I can't show you and I've been blocked on Google now. Can you believe that just happened? I can't believe. Is this really happening here? Hold on. Are we really doing this now? Are we really blocking? It's magic. It's magic. It works again. It's back. It's magic. It's amazing. Let's go put the coordinates in before they take it away again. I can't believe it. Yeah, here. Now all of a sudden we're back, right? You're back online, Dutch. Yeah. All right, we've got to connect. Anyway, there's the volcano, and I was showing you New Mexico, and just showing you that all of this, starting there and going to the south, is all drilled. And it's at this level, you don't even know what to look for, quite frankly. But when you zoom in and you start seeing them, how many there are, the reason the earthquake is striking there, it's a weak point in the plate. That's why there are volcanoes there. The edge of the craton comes down, makes a bend down through South Big Bend, Texas, and then goes back up this way, up to Dallas, Fort Worth, the edge of the craton. It makes a giant hook shape here. The mountains come down, go over, and at the bend from here up to here are nothing but volcanoes. Thousands of volcanoes. So what I think used to happen a long time ago, this isn't even a marked volcanic field. Do you see it there? That's in Texas. All of this is volcanic all the way up. And then it's connected to the ones that are marked up here. But I think the wave used to come down and hit these weak points in the plate, regardless of whether or not the oil pumping operations would be there. So now that the oil pumping operations are there, tens of thousands of them, tens of thousands of drill points like this, all these white specks on the ground are different drill points, that I think that they are interfering with the flow that would normally have gone to the volcanoes. And then the flow goes down across South Texas and back up into Oklahoma. And look what the earthquakes do. Down through South Texas, even makes a bend through South Texas down here. And down in Southeast Texas, what's down at Nixon, Texas? Boy, it's great having Google back, isn't it? Don't take it away. It just makes everybody look worse. I'm not blaming the oil companies. Again, they would have hit the volcanoes there. What do we want, a volcano eruption? I'd rather have the oil pumping operations hit. Like if I was in charge and I had to choose, I'm like, well, this could hit the volcanoes, or we can drill a bunch and get a bunch of oil, make a bunch of money, and we might break some of our wells. It'll be like, well, if a volcanic eruption happens, we're screwed, so let's just go ahead and drill. Anyway, you see how many different drill points there are? It's in a line like this. So why are the earthquakes going in a line like that, do you think? And then we get up into Oklahoma, and the whole state's lit up. The entire state of Oklahoma lit up from one side to the other. We went from nothing to 60. This is like punching the pedal on an electric car. You take off super fast. Look at it, guys. We go, this is just 2 days worth of earthquakes. No, this is 7 days worth of earthquakes. Hold on. 2 days worth of earthquakes, 3 at the most, really fills it up. So in the last 3 days, before that, it was just a little handful. But now in the last 3 days, the whole center of the plate has gone just nuts at the pumping operations in Oklahoma. I'm going to grab an earthquake from in the middle of this, and then we're going to do the same thing we did down in Texas. which is to just go look up the whole location and zoom around it. But we're pulling the earthquake from in the middle. So we're going from one pumping operation down in Texas up the edge of the craton to, survey says, another pumping operation. Tanks, pumps, jacks, and pipelines. There's even a truck out there either dropping off fluid or picking it up. And you get the picture. Oklahoma has done a whole bunch of drilling, about 1 million different drill points now across the state, up from 500,000 in 2011. And let's show you that edge of the craton now. I'm going to turn off everything on Google Earth. There's the earthquake epicenter. And do you see these mountains here? See their funky shape? Like folds on folds or nested dolls inside of each other or something? It goes down to the south, the edge of the craton now. This is Arkansas. It goes a hard bend to the south through the center of Dallas-Fort Worth. Splits the actual city in part. Then it goes down to the south. This is not a river. This is a bulge. This is a huge bulge full of oil, actually. And this is a 1,000-foot rise from right here to right here, all the way along it. So this is like foothills. It rises in like a dome. Anyway, that's the south edge of the craton. It goes back up through New Mexico, Colorado, back up through Yellowstone, and then it's easily seen at this point, goes up the mountain ranges and goes back up this way in the interior part of the plate. This is the interior edge of the craton. The earthquakes follow this, like a wave guide. The wave gets trapped in here and goes down through Texas, over through Arkansas, and once it gets to the New Madrid seismic zone and has a choice, or makes a choice, naturally speaking, it is a two-way thing that can happen here. One, it reflects back into itself. Two, it goes around the bend of the plate and up the East Coast, like we want it to, and drop off earthquakes along the way as it does so. Now, for the last week and a half, there has been hardly any earthquake activity up the East Coast. Instead, we've been getting 4s and 5s out here on the West Coast, down in the Arizona border at Mexico and so forth. And the activity's been going over to the New Madrid and then going back down here and reflecting into itself. And each time it's gotten a large earthquake. The last one was a 5 that just hit 2 weeks ago. Near record-breaking, not the biggest, but almost the biggest, 5.0. I think the biggest was 5.1 or 5.2 in Texas, ever. So it was a 5. It was huge. It was in north-central Texas right at the pumping operations. This is 2 weeks ago, reflected into itself, instead of going up the East Coast. Then we had a mystery blast off the East Coast. They said it was an experimental blast. Again, second one, 4.0, 3.9. Then it went away. And I'm talking about the earthquakes going up the East Coast. It's been 2 weeks now, and we haven't seen hardly anything happen. Instead, it's been reflecting to itself and breaking back as it reflects over and over again. So I think over on the West Coast, up here, we're getting ready to break with a new push that's coming in from the West Pacific. And then we have to watch across the whole plate. This means going down through Colorado, for instance. We would probably start to swarm first up at Yellowstone, for instance, like a swarm at Yellowstone, which is different than the earthquakes that happen every day. Actually, they're not earthquakes. They're tremors. There's hundreds of tremors every day at Yellowstone, but very few earthquakes reported. And in this case, I would think we would see hundreds of earthquakes get reported out of Yellowstone. Then Colorado should break. And it should be southern Colorado, most likely right along the pumping operations at Trinidad again. Magnitude on this should be in the 4.5 to 4.9 range, so it'll be enough to get your attention for sure in Colorado. Anytime above 4, it's enough to knock facades off houses, stone facades and stone chimneys that you have on your cabins in the mountains and so forth. That's what happened when the 4.2 hit a few years ago. Doesn't happen often, only happens when there's a big push that's going across the plate. I'd also watch for Oklahoma. And I would normally warn Texas, but we already had a 5 in Texas. So now it looks like Oklahoma's getting ready to break. And I'd guess it would, and this is guess, because I don't have anything to base this on magnitude-wise yet, that it would be similar to what struck in Texas last week or 2 weeks ago. So a 5. And if you think back to 2011, the 5s that happened in Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas all happened about 2 weeks to 4 weeks apart from each other. Just to remember that. Now let's jump all the way over to the New Madrid seismic zone really quick and just take a look at this one lone earthquake here in the middle of the New Madrid. Now, I live in St. Louis, in case you don't know, west of St. Louis by about an hour. I live on the edge of the New Madrid. And it is Madrid, it's not Madrid. You can go talk to the people down there, they'll tell you. But let's put the coordinates in. Let's go see what's next to the town of New Madrid, Missouri. Is there anything of significance nearby? Well, an airport. Looks like a community airport of some kind is where the earthquake struck below. Now, if we have any kind of military here, I'll rate. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah. There we go, guys. Yet once again, I go stepping in it. You know how many times I've looked up earthquakes and we come in next to a military place, and it's not like they're everywhere. It really isn't. Look at that. Wow. Isn't that wonderful? What's this? What is this place? Paducah Gaseous Diffusion Plant. What? Why would you build a gaseous diffusive plant on the middle of the New Madrid seismic zone? What the hell is gaseous diffusion? What is gaseous diffusion? It doesn't sound safe. I don't know. Inquiring minds want to know. Let's go find out. What does it do? Oh, it's got a wiki. The Paducah Gaseous Diffusion Plant, the PGDP, is a facility located in McCracken County, Kentucky, near Paducah, Kentucky. Oh my God! Ah, shit! No! I'm falling, guys. I'm falling. I just ran in. You've delved too deep, Dutch. You've now ran into the Balrog. You and the Balrog are going to be falling down to the pits of doom. I'm going to fight him for 10,000 years and come back as Dutch the White, because here we are at the McCracken County Enriched Uranium Plant. Oh, it's formerly enriched uranium. Yeah. That's why all the stuff's there right now, right? Yeah. That's why the army's there, huh? They call this stepping in it real deep, class. Look, it's better I go on a list than you, right? You gotta be kidding me, man. Why would you build the gaseous diffusion uranium plant in the middle of the New Madrid seismic zone? I had no idea that was there. That is insane to put that there. I can't believe it. Yes, there's still stuff there. I guarantee you there is. It's probably a super fun cleanup site to top it all off. Jeez. I wonder why the earthquake's striking there. See the power going into that place? Remember what I told you about very low frequency? What would you do if I told you there's a connection between earthquakes and movement of enriched uranium? This is not my take on it. I just got a ringing in my ears when I said that. I'm not kidding. One of those high frequency pitch rings just came into my ear as I said that. But I'm going to show you something over here on my YouTube page. This update's really gone off the rails. Now, we're going to go search Bearden, the guy I told you about, Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden on my YouTube channel. You got to do this on my YouTube channel to get this. And the video you want right here is Secret Superweapons That Drive Disarmament Negotiations by Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden. This DVD was sent to me. Thomas Bearden died a few years ago. And because of who I am and my research, Mr. Bearden knew who I was. And I was kind of like a name that they knew at his company, which was Chenier.org, where he did he's a missile command expert from the U.S. Army who lectured on scalar and directed energy weapons, earthquakes, and HARP, and radar, and so forth. He lectured in the 1980s and 1990s. He was an old man at this point when he found out about me. So I ordered some stuff from his site and stayed in touch with him, so to speak, and the people at the company. And Mr. Bearden died a few years ago. And I got an email from them at the company inviting me to come to either the funeral or to sign the guest book. And so they gave me a link to this private guest book for the thing, and I left him a nice note and, told the family much love and wishes. A few weeks later, at the most, I get something in the mail from Chenier.org. And it's two discs from Bearden. One of them is this: Secret Superweapons That Drive Disarmament Negotiations. It's got a handwritten sticker on the front of the thing, and it says, Dutch, I didn't know if you had seen this one of Tom's before. Terry. And Terry was apparently the one who ran the operation for, shipping out videos and stuff. And the company shut down, closed doors that day that they mailed it to me. Well, I went to go to their site, and it's all deactivated. It's all taken down. He didn't have a backup for it. So anyway, they sent me this video. And in this video, about halfway through, he's lecturing this is how the video starts out like this, or the DVD. So he's got harp in here. He remastered this in 2010, his lecture from 1988. So in 1988, he gave this lecture at the World Trade Center.
Electromagnetic force and energy into gravitational force and energy, and vice versa. Electrogravitation.
Okay, so he's lecturing on scalar and converting energy from one to the other, and you make it earthquakes and convert weather. And the Russians, he said, in 1988, were doing it to us. So he remasters this in 2010. And in 2010, when he remasters this, he puts in modern examples in 2010. So he gets a clip from NBC News of them moving radioactive debris or highly enriched uranium out of Chile. They had nuclear reactors down there, and the U.S. military went down to go pick it up and move it. And when they picked it up and moved it, an 8.1 earthquake struck down in Chile, and they dismissed it on NBC News as chance. And this is Maddow on here.
Worked through the night to find a new escape route. They decided to use a port 50.
So while they were moving the material, the earthquake struck. And where did they bring it? They brought it to North America for refinement. That's what they did. But this is Bearden talking about the moving of nuclear material causing earthquake activity. So now we get the earthquake next to the Paducah gaseous fusion plant. I can't ignore that there's a connection. Go watch this video from Bearden. You'll blow your mind. You'll see harp rings at the very end. Radar pulse harp rings before I ever even came around. Lieutenant Colonel Thomas Bearden from the U.S. Missile Command, not only researching it, putting it in at the end of his video from 2010. I started my videos at the end of 2010. I didn't know who Bearden was. But there he is documenting the radar pulse harp rings. And guess what the media used to say they were at the time? When I came around, they said it was a switch between clear air mode and it was a glitch on the radar. But at his time, when he was noticing it 10 years before, they tried to say it was birds, bugs, and bats. And then the skeptics from the skeptic community tried to say it was birds, bugs, and bats for me. Pretty weird, huh? Anyway, this earthquake connection has to be relevant at this point. We have to pay attention to this. We get earthquakes next to places like that. Of all the spots to build it in the middle of the New Madrid, that's why the earthquake struck there. It could have struck anywhere on the New Madrid, but the reason it struck there is because of precipitated energy up on the surface, electron cascade going down into the plate. Okay, let's sum it all up. We're watching for, are you mind numb now, right? Like Bearden, electromagnetics, nuclear power plants, earthquakes? Wow, I cannot believe the uranium. Again, I step into deep, man. I go on every list in the world when you find that kind of stuff. I'm not taking this out. We're leaving it in uncut. So a 4.9 to 5.1 earthquake striking here. In the middle is where we're watching for our large one. We're also still watching for New Zealand to go south of New Zealand. It could get big. Could go up above 7.0, but it might not matter if it's down in the middle of nowhere. Where it will matter is overseas. So, for instance, off the coast of the United States in Alaska, or the 4s or near 5s that should go over towards Oklahoma. That'll matter. Back over here at our big earthquake location, if we're bouncing back and forth, well, if we're going to bounce over here next, my next forecast will be talking about watching back over here again. But that puts Central America into the mix. So if you live in Panama, if you live in Nicaragua, if you live as far north as Costa Rica and El Salvador, or if you live as far south as the coast of Colombia again, but I would look right in here. I'm already going to tell you right now, I think we're going to see another break on the East Pacific on top of everything else that I'm issuing the warnings for right now. Just to keep your eye on it right now. Might as well just get a warning out now. We're bouncing back and forth. We're going to go over here most likely with a big quake, which means we should bounce back again. And then it's just a matter of, is it going to strike the actual antipode or is it going to strike 30 degrees off? Because actual antipode From here, let's find out. Let's go through the planet, find out what the antipode is. Because I don't want to guess. Go to antipode. Okay, so we're just east of there. We're on the mid-Atlantic ridge, which if a big earthquake strikes out here, it doesn't matter unless there's uplift. If it's side-by-side movement out on the mid-Atlantic, it's just an earthquake out in the Atlantic. It doesn't cause a huge wave. If it goes up and down, we've got ourselves a wave out there that's rare. But I think it'll strike first. Before it gets over here, I think the wave will come back across, go through, and come up here, where we already have a whole bunch of braking going on. Since Colombia and Venezuela already broke, and Peru already broke, stands to reason up here we should already break. South Chile, we get down to South Chile. I don't think that's going to get out of the mix either next week either. Like I said 4 days ago, I think it's going to be a back and forth between New Zealand and Chile, but first New Zealand. Down south is moving, so down south should move down here, east of the Dutch Sense logo. There's the Dutch Sense logo, east of there, and we're already moving at Point Nemo. Europe, we're going to watch for a 5 in Italy, South Italy, right down by Campi Flegrei again. And if we get a 5 in there, if it strikes out in the ocean, no big deal. If it strikes on land, we're talking about actual damage. If it goes down into Africa, same thing. If we go down here into, what was that? Was that Algeria? Damn. I'm still trying to learn my countries over there, guys. Sorry. Yeah, I got it right. Libya and Algeria. So right down in here, Tunisia's in between the two. But, I mean, it's a matter of a few hundred miles. This is 100, 51, 52, 53. This is 300 miles across total. So, man, I think we're getting ready to go through it. I hope I'm wrong. And if any other locations get hit, or if I have to update the forecast, I'll be back on at a moment's notice. This update has really gone on a long time, but let me just drive home the point here. The reason I'm doing this, it's been a long process of me doing this, 15 to 16 years of publicly researching a topic that was a faux pas. It would get you shut down. It would get you arrested. They called for my arrest. They tried to blow up your house, for real. Like, bad stuff happened. They tried to stop this for a long time because I think they thought there was no way to do it. But the method is out there. There's no excuse for anybody. Now that you know, you can start to prepare based upon knowing like a flood. If somebody gets on, I don't expect you guys to do your own forecasting, really, quite frankly, even though I put it out there and I know everybody has access to it. It's like the weather. Do you want to go do your own weather forecasting, or do you go get it from the person you trust the most on the weather? I get it. So I'm here to do this for you and tell you, but if you want to do it yourself, you can. It's about being prepared. So when you're going to be prepared, you need to have an emergency kit. You need to know what to do when an earthquake strikes. And I'm not trying to be condescending or talk down to you about any of this stuff. You know, most of us are grown adults, and even those of us who aren't, you know what I mean. You need to have a plan and be prepared. Don't wait for someone else to come and take care of you. The U.S. government won't do it, I'll tell you that right now. Just look at all of our disasters, the hurricanes, any of those other events. It's all the same. No matter what party's in charge, it's always the same. The government's incompetent, and they can't even build a website to provide you something that should be free. So you should be self-sufficient. You should have a plan and be prepared for earthquakes. That involves having an emergency kit, also some food, and a way to actually have water of some kind, purification system of some kind, or actual water on hand. These are just the basics. I'm reminding you because sometimes you get desensitized. A lot of times I get desensitized. We all get desensitized when you're watching a bunch of videos on YouTube and people are talking about pole shifts in the Peru. But this is a time where even the mainstream media has admitted, which is really kind of weird, that there's an increase in 7.0 plus activity right now. So why not dust off your emergency kit? Make sure it's all up to date, that you have seasonal specific clothes in there, change of clothes, set of shoes, flashlight, batteries. I tell you every single time. And you'll be way better off than the people who aren't prepared. Don't be a liability to others because you just refuse to prepare yourself. And it's just a matter of a kit. You don't have to go overkill on it. It would be to get you through a couple days during a disaster. Now, the long-term stuff, after a couple days, what do you do? If it's a huge disaster, you're going to be cut off for weeks in some locations. So you might want to prepare for that kind of stuff. And if you never have to use it, that's fine. You'll end up using it for something else. Your emergency kit, I'll already tell you, I've already broken into my emergency kit over the years several times. either just to get a pocket knife or some kind of thing out there, a tool, a little multi-tool to use, or to get an extra set of car keys out when I lost my car keys. Oh, that's a good thing to have in your emergency kit, by the way. An extra set of keys. So that way you don't have to run around your house if there's a big earthquake happening and try and find your keys. Right? What if you have to leave the house or go get in your car or start it or something and it's buried under rubble? You would have it in your emergency kit. And if you lose your keys, no, they're in their emergency kit. An extra set. A set of shoes by the side of your bed will also do a world of wonder for any disaster. It's such a simple preparation tip that most people forget. Hard bottom slippers or shoes. If an earthquake hits in the middle of the night and it's dark, power's out, broken things across the floor, and you've got to move. You're either going to be moving real slow, trying not to step on glass, or you should have your hard bottom slippers or shoes next to your bed, and then you can walk across it. Think of the movie Die Hard with Bruce Willis walking across a bed of glass. Don't let that be you in an earthquake. Have a plan. Don't be scared. Be prepared. I'm going to end the video now, and we're going to upload it over to YouTube. I'll be back after we're done uploading. Peace out.